real issue that a lot of people are not talking about. They don't really feel content with motherhood, or they feel overwhelmed by motherhood.
Yes, they smell so good. They're so soft and they're so cuddly, but good Lord, they don't sleep very much.
They feel just completely lost in motherhood.
At least you have a child.
Are you feeling lost in your motherhood? Is it what you expected it to be? There's no shame in our game. Find out what other moms are thinking with the Motherhood Survey on today's episode. Don't forget to click subscribe.
As we start a new year, one of the things that comes up every year is people are kind of trying to figure out how they're going to spend the year ahead. And for a lot of moms, this can sometimes feel daunting. And we want to leave you with some tips as to how you can overcome feeling lost in motherhood. So we are so excited to have back not just Dr. Trisa, but a mom on our platform. And Dr. Trisa, it's so good to see you for the new year.
You too.
I'm so excited. And I know this is a topic close to your heart as a professional mom. Let's set the foundation of this discussion. We know that there is an annual survey done by Motherly. It's called the State of Motherhood. It's a survey on a bunch of different aspects of motherhood. But one of the most alarming stats that they quoted was that 62% of women feel that they spend less than an hour to, or have less than an hour to themselves per day. Now, if there's one thing that'll definitely make anybody feel overwhelmed, is having insufficient time to yourself. So let's talk about that, Dr. Trisa. What do you think about the fact that the far majority, almost 2/3 of all moms, feel that they have less than an hour to themselves per day?
Well, I honestly could say yes, I could see how that happens. And
Uh-huh.
you want to think that it's only in the newborn stage and in the newborn phase, but no, that's not exactly how it goes. You get followed into the bathroom and the shower gets busted open as they're asking you a random question. And yeah, so it is not uncommon. And I think it's because majority of the time the expectation is that the mom is going to be doing the care, right? There are
Mhm.
some cases where um dads are heavily involved and or they may be the primary caregivers, but it is really not uncommon for that to be the case. I think it changes as they become teenagers. I'm not there yet, so I can't say that for sure. But I can tell you as little pre-tween, I don't even know if that's the word or whatever, the young men, whatever. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
you don't get a whole lot of time alone. Um, and some of it can be comforting and reassuring, knowing that, they really like being around you. You're a safe space for them. They're comfortable with you,
Mhm.
but you still want to be by yourself sometimes. You'd still want to be able to be who you are and not have to always cater to their needs.
Yeah.
So that is definitely a commonality for I think for mothers. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely sounds like that pouring from an empty cup concept, right? So making sure that you have time to refill so that you can pour out. But it seems like realistically, most moms aren't getting enough time to do that refill. A large percentage of the moms who responded to the survey said that if they had more time or some time to themselves, they would like to do things like watch a TV show that they enjoy or go exercise. What are some of the things do you think lead to moms feeling like they're overwhelmed?
When we don't have a village, it makes it very, very, very hard to walk the road alone. Not having that support system to be able to back up to and be like, hey, can you watch them for an hour while I go run to this appointment? Can you
Mhm.
stay with them for me to just have a sip of coffee on my own or tea on my own or something along those lines. So definitely not having a support system. And sometimes if you don't have a supportive spouse, a partner, that could be really, really, really limiting. And I think sometimes um men just look at women doing the things and it's like, oh man, y'all are so good. Y'all make that look so easy. No, bro, I'm drowning and I need you to
Yeah.
kick in and step it up, right? So not good village support, and that could be for whatever the reason. Family involvement is not great. They don't get along with the family, or they really don't want their kids around their family because they need to break some generational things. And then you're not having such a good spouse, but then there's a lot of the pressure and the expectation of you being that primary caregiver. And it's just so very much ingrained in our society.
Yeah.
Questions about how the kid is doing are directed to the mom.
Yeah.
Everything is just directed to the mom. Now, I will say as a mom, I try my best to get involved and know and understand all that there is to know about my kid. I'm not gonna lie. So for certain things, I know my husband probably has no idea about, whereas I might know. Some of it may be because of whatever knowledge or background that I have, but like I try to spend all that time because besides just bringing him into the world, making sure he's physically okay, I'm looking to raise him up the best way I can. It's not just, I'll let him fend for himself and just go ahead and do what you got to do. So sometimes I think we also put some of that added pressure to ourselves where we're trying so hard to not make any mistakes and do things perfectly right with the kid. And I don't think there's any such thing.
I do think there's a certain level of internal pressure and certainly societal pressure. But to your points, I think you hit the nails on the head. According to today's.com, as of last year, 83% of moms were feeling overwhelmed. And they named some of the things that you said as to the reasons why they felt overwhelmed. Number one would be a lack of support. Number two was that they feel like they need more recognition from their spouse. And number three was that they just simply feel like they need more time to do the things that they like to do. When you look at surveys, whether it's from 2011 by Forbes Women and thebump.com, which is a pregnancy website, then 92% of women who were working outside the home, percent of stay-at-home moms felt overwhelmed by their work, their home, or parenting. So from 2011 to the survey we were just mentioning, the state of motherhood, which was last year, the numbers have not really changed over the years, despite society moving forward in so many ways. So why do you suspect that even though society and culture has changed and we're much more efficient as a society when it comes to careers, we get things done more efficiently. Technology has definitely been a huge growth. Yet motherhood continues to be, and supposedly we've had this somewhat evolution of society to understand the responsibilities and the drain of motherhood. There's more dads that are stay-at-home dads, yet the numbers have not changed in moms feeling overwhelmed.
Even when the dad takes on the role of the stay-at-home parent, I still feel in a lot of ways mom becomes, it's wrong to say the co-primary parent, but
It's not the same level of balance of
it's
responsibility as if
not the
mom
same.
was,
It is not the same. If the child gets hurt when they're with mom, mom will fix it up and then let dad know, right? Simple thing. If the child gets hurt with dad, dad is calling mom to ask what to do.
She's out at work working. She's still getting enough phone calls. And it's interesting because also the same survey, the motherhood survey, also noted that 49% of women use some type of outside childcare, and about 63% use or pay for at least 30 or more hours of assistance per week. So definitely a large percentage of women are utilizing some type of support, of paid support, if they don't have that natural village, as you were referring to earlier. Yet
Yeah.
are still overwhelmed.
Yeah. I do. I absolutely do. The
So
aftercare program is a very necessary part of life. When we are as professional women and we're out in the field, we're out in our workplace, in our jobs, we're expected to attend 100%, right? We're expected to attend 100% to the job. So is our husband. or spouse. So if we're both 100% at the job, then what's happening with the kid, right? Someone has to take care of the kid.
Right.
And the automatic assumption in many cases that I've experienced, if someone has to be at home with the child, it becomes, well, can't the mom do it? And a lot of it comes, it comes down, like it comes from the older generations. Well, this is how we did it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you also did not have to have two people working outside the home to actually
Yeah.
live. Why can't mom take care of the baby? And it's that kind of societal construct.
Mm-hmm.
It is a
Mm-hmm.
construct that has not fully adjusted to the way that we live now.
Yeah. And one of the things that you brought up that I think is a key point to really tap into is the fact that, yeah, the financial requirements right now are another factor as to why women may be feeling overwhelmed. The survey did say that about 71% of women, of moms, have reported having to cut back on their expenses last year. And we're continuing to be in a economic people call it recession. Other people argue that it's not a recession, whatever you want to call it. We are definitely experiencing some economic trying times because of what's going on globally and nationally. And so, as we enter another year where the economy is not necessarily the greatest, it does add another factor to the issue that now not only do you may not have the time to do something for yourself, but you also may not necessarily even have the funds to do something for yourself. So all that hashtag self-care may become hashtag I wish I had self-care money.
Or
Um,
worse,
mhm,
hashtag let me go try to find a way to make a buck in this hour because
yeah.
I need to do more to supplement the family's income.
I would say on one positive note on this, in terms of how we have learned to be more self-aware, I am really encouraged by the stats that 49% of the moms have reported that they seek help, they seek therapy. And I would definitely say that that's definitely been a trend in the right direction in our society, to see that more women are not only more open to considering therapy, but are actually now outwardly expressive about the fact that they are seeking therapy. So I think that that's a win for us for sure, because at least we can hope that through therapy, even if the circumstances can't change, and oftentimes that's just kind of life, like life may not change, but we can certainly look at how we can change our perspective on life. And in the change of that mindset, it can sometimes feel less overwhelming. The other positive take on it is that sometimes through therapy, we can come up with practical ways of changing our circumstances so that we're able to have more time to ourselves. And hopefully a lot of moms through that process will be able to feel less overwhelmed by motherhood. There's a stigma associated with saying that you're overwhelmed when it comes to motherhood.
Mhm.
Has that stigma changed?
No. Um, Let me not be so flippant with my response.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If that's how you feel, then that's just how
I
you.
I think it is changing. I think it is changing. I think it is changing, and yes, social media is going to have an influence on this, and maybe that's one of the positive things. But I think it's changing because you will hear more women talk about the harder things of motherhood, parenthood, all of it. Um, And they may always, put the caveat, but I love them because I know I do. I'll tell you, my kid's a handful, but I love him. Like,
Mhm,
do not ask me to think of what life would be like without him. That's just not even a question or an option.
mhm,
But do I get stressed by him? Am I overtouched by him? Am I looking for 5 minutes alone without him? Yes, absolutely. Have I read a book in
mhm.
months? No. Funny enough, though, he did tell me to go get my own book at the library. So we will be
Oh,
doing
awesome. So that may be changing.
that may be changing. I don't think the stigma of the struggle of motherhood has totally gone away.
Mhm,
Um, I feel because it's still such a very touchy subject because you have those that are having fertility issues and are having a hard time having, or really want and just don't see a way, whatever the case may be. That kind of, walk a mile in the other person's shoes. So if you've never had to deal with a sick or crying child and having to be up and rocking that child, and you tired of yourself, you may be sick yourself, but you're still having to take care of the child. It may be hard for you to think, oh my goodness, this is so, especially if it's something that you've been longing for, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then the person who doesn't have any issues with fertility, like, they keep oopsing and every time they turn around, there's another kid. They also won't be able to understand, or maybe not, may not be able to understand the experience of someone who's tried, who's failed at regular, failed at IUI, failed at IVF, failed,
Right.
there's so much of that individuality in the experiences that we have as potential mothers, that I think sometimes it helps to promote that, well, you better be grateful, at least you have, at least you have a child, or well, you don't know what it's like, you don't have a child. It creates a bit of the divide. One of the things that can cause there to be a bit of overwhelm in motherhood is having that fantasy, that Instagram versus reality pics that folk like to put up on Instagram, right? There, I feel like for a long time, we got a lot of the flowy, glowy. Oh my goodness, it's so precious. It's a gift from God. It absolutely is. Oh, there's such a lovely life. Oh, but the talks of what was happening or how you were really doing was not always brought up. I feel like there's a little bit more openness to describe a more realistic view of it. Yes, they smell so good. They're so soft and they're so cuddly, but good Lord, they don't sleep very much and you
Yes.
get tired. So
Yeah.
I think we're starting to have a little bit more openness in having the realities of motherhood. It's not just buying them really cute clothes and dressing them nicely and combing their hair really nicely or giving them a really fly haircut. That's not it.
It's blowouts and spit up and fussiness and
It's all the things.
yeah, and to your point, exhaustion does play a role. It's hard to be satisfied with life when you're chronically exhausted.
Right.
And what's interesting is that 73% of women say that they get 6 hours of sleep or 6+ hours of sleep, which is an improvement from the year before, which was only 60%. So at least it seems like we're starting to prioritize sleep in it as a culture. We may be starting to recognize that sleep is important and that sleep is important not just for our physical health, but also for our mental health. So hopefully with that new perspective, there will be at least some improvement in the quality of life. So go to bed early or wake up later, whatever your flow is.
However it happens.
However it happens, but just really prioritizing a rest, and if prioritizing sleep, and if you can't sleep, at least rest, because we do know that there are benefits to even just resting. So as we spoke about, there's certainly still the stigma of motherhood. There's certainly, as Dr. Trisa mentioned, an over or high expectations of moms, and certainly that perspective of gratitude. You should be gracious that you're a mom, and at the same time, the expectation that you should sacrifice everything to be a mom. We've certainly made some strides in areas. Women are definitely seeking mental health therapy more. And so that's a positive trend, but still, we are still seeing the overwhelmed percent of women who are moms feeling like they are overwhelmed. So we still have a long ways to go, it looks like. So what are some of the ways that we can maybe make this process better or easier for moms? I would definitely say providing more resources, putting funding into childcare services so it's not so much of a financial strain, so that they can regain more more of themselves and more time more time to
Mhm.
care for themselves. And certainly it looks like we need to do better when it comes to support partners and spouses having a more active role and making sure that it doesn't seem like it's a gold star if we do, but making sure that we have that expectation that people will know it is the expectation that it's two parents.
Right,
Areas in which two parents do exist, having
right,
an active role in the rearing of kids.
right.
And here on HBC, we believe in of creating villages around women so that we can recreate what is traditionally our heritage, and making sure that if you can check in on being conscious about checking in on that mom in your life who has especially a younger child that's more dependent, and offering, even if it's just a few hours, so that they go watch that show that they want to watch, or
Use again.
perhaps go exercise.
There are a lot of things that, yes, we would like the society to do and the others to do, but on your end, don't give up trying to find your tribe. I'm still trying to find my tribe from having relocated for the
Mm-hmm.
second time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's important that you do that. It's important, and it may come through um your children. Your children might lead it. And then you find that you and the parents may have something in common, or your kids like to play together, but you want to continue to find your tribe because it's going to be important for your mental health. You know that there's somebody else who's probably going through a whole lot of what you're going through, especially when that sass mouth starts. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So you know that someone else may be going through the same things. Don't get closed in and stay in the hole and just be like, well, I'm just gonna stay here overwhelmed. Continue to push and fight for you because you are important.
I love that message of finding that tribe because you are important. So, Dr. Trisa, if they want to find out more pearls of wisdom from you, where can they find you?
On Instagram at trisajob.dpt.
Awesome. And I am Dr. T. Always a pleasure to be the hand behind the handle of Healthy Bump Club right here on YouTube, and also the hand behind the handle of Healthy Bump Club on Instagram. We thank you guys for following us. Let us know, what are your thoughts about motherhood? Are you lost in motherhood? Do you need support? Reach out to us, let us know. And we thank you guys for watching. We see you guys when next episode. And